Most people think self-sufficiency on half an acre means cramming as many animals as possible into a tiny space. That thinking destroys homesteads. You don't need more animals, you need the right animals. 9 specific species that work together like a living machine producing meat, eggs, milk, fertilizer, and pest control, without draining your wallet or your sanity. Here's what nobody tells you. The average backyard farmer spends over $3,000 a year on feed alone. Most of that money is wasted on animals that were never designed for small acreage in the first place. Today we're breaking down 9 animals that turn a half acre into a self-sustaining food system. Animals that feed themselves, feed each other, and feed your family year-round. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete blueprint for building a homestead that runs on nature, not on your credit card. Here's the reality nobody wants to talk about. Feed prices have jumped 28 to 40% since 2021. That bag of layer pellets that used to cost you $14 is now pushing $20, and it never goes back down. The average small flock owner spends $45 to $60 a month just on chicken feed. Add a couple of goats, and you're looking at another $80. Throw in hay, supplements, vet visits, and replacement animals. And suddenly, your self-sufficient homestead is costing you $2,500 to $4,000 a year just to keep running. That's not self-sufficiency, that's a subscription service with feathers. And the worst part, most of those animals aren't even pulling their weight. They're consuming more than they produce. You're working harder, spending more, and getting less food on the table than if you'd just gone to the grocery store. I've seen it over and over again. Somebody watches a homesteading video, gets excited, buys chickens, ducks, goats, and rabbits all in the same month. 6 months later, they're burned out. The feed bill is out of control. Half the animals aren't producing, and the whole dream starts falling apart. It's not your fault. The problem isn't your work ethic. The problem is that nobody taught you which animals actually work on limited land, and which ones just eat your money. Most homesteading content tells you what animals to raise. Almost none of it tells you which animals to combine so they support each other. That's the difference between a homestead that drains you and a homestead that sustains you. The animals on this list don't just produce food, they close loops. They reduce inputs, they turn waste into resources, and they do it on half an acre or less. This isn't some trendy new idea. This is how farming worked for centuries before the feed industry took over. Go back 200 years. Small farmers across Europe, Asia, and colonial America didn't have feed stores. They didn't have Amazon delivering bags of pellets to their door. They had land, often less than an acre, and they had to make it work. And they did. Traditional small farms were diversified, but they weren't crowded. There's a critical difference. Every animal was chosen by function, not by what looked good, not by what was popular on the neighbor's farm, but by what each animal contributed to the entire system. Meat, eggs, fertilizer, pest control, land clearing, pollination. Rabbits, ducks, bees, and fish were historically favored on small plots, not because they were exotic, but because they were efficient. They produced a lot from very little, they fit tight spaces, they didn't require massive barns or expensive inputs. Chickens actually became dominant later, not because they were the best fit for small homesteads, but because they scaled well for industrial farming. Factory farms could raise tens of thousands in climate-controlled buildings with bulk feed discounts. That model was never designed for your half acre. But somewhere along the way, we forgot the old logic. We started copying industrial models on backyard land, and it doesn't work. Modern commercial agriculture replaced self-sustaining animal systems with feed dependency. Farmers became customers. Traditional knowledge got dismissed as old-fashioned. And small homesteaders got stuck buying inputs every single month for animals that used to feed themselves. The good news? That old knowledge didn't disappear. It just got buried. And today, we're digging it back up. These 9 animals are the exact species traditional farmers relied on, proven over generations. Let's start with the most underrated protein source in homesteading: rabbits. A single doe can produce 50 to 60 pounds of meat per year. That's more protein per square foot than any other backyard animal, including cattle. and they do it on a footprint smaller than a parking space. Here's why rabbits are the backbone of a half-acre system. They breed fast. A doe kindles every 30 to 35 days. Kits reach harvest weight in 8 to 12 weeks. That means you can cycle through multiple litters per year, from just 2 or 3 does and 1 buck. Feed costs, roughly $15 to $20 per month for a small breeding trio. But here's where it gets powerful. Rabbits thrive on garden scraps, foraged greens, comfrey, dandelion, and clover. With a good forage system, you can cut that feed bill in half. And the real hidden gem, their manure. Rabbit manure is cold manure. That means you can drop it straight into your garden beds without composting. No burning, no waiting. It's packed with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Your soil gets richer every single day. Setup is dead simple. A basic hutch system costs under $150. 3 does, and 1 buck, that's your starter colony. Rabbits don't get the attention they deserve, but on a half-acre, nothing else comes close to their efficiency. The next animal pairs with rabbits so perfectly, it's almost unfair. If rabbits are the backbone, quail are the secret weapon. Coturnix quail are tiny. You can raise 50 of them in the space of a single chicken coop. And they start laying eggs at just 6 weeks old. 6 weeks? Chickens take 5 to 6 months. Each hen lays around 250 to 300 eggs per year. Those eggs are nutrient-dense, packed with more iron, B12, and protein per ounce than chicken eggs. And at farmers markets, quail eggs sell for $5 to $8 a dozen. But even if you never sell a single egg, quail earn their place because of their speed and efficiency. They eat about 1 pound of feed per bird per month. That's almost nothing. And here's the system connection. Remember that rabbit manure going into your garden? Your garden produces scraps. Those scraps can supplement quail feed. The quail produce more manure for more garden fertility. The loop closes tighter with every cycle. Housing is simple. Stackable wire cages, a converted shelf unit, even a section of your garage. Total startup cost, under $150 for birds and housing. The meat is exceptional too. Dressed quail sell for $12 to $15 a pound at specialty markets. And they reach harvest weight in just 6 to 8 weeks. Small bird, massive output, almost zero space. The next animal on this list is one most people get completely wrong, and it's costing them a fortune. Yes, chickens make the list, but not the way you think. Most backyard farmers pick the wrong breeds. High-production hybrids designed for factory farms. Birds that burn out after 18 months and can't survive without commercial feed. On a half-acre self-sustaining system, you need heritage dual-purpose breeds. Think Plymouth Rocks, Orpingtons, Australorps, or Rhode Island Reds. These birds lay 200 to 250 eggs per year and provide solid meat when they're retired from laying. More importantly, they forage hard. A well-managed heritage flock on rotational grazing can find 30 to 50% of their own food from bugs, seeds, grass, and scraps. That drops your feed bill from $60 a month to under $35. The key is rotational grazing, moving your flock between small paddocks so the ground recovers and insects regenerate. Pair this with comfrey plantings and a scratch pen full of compost material, and your chickens practically feed themselves through 3 seasons. Keep your flock small. 6 to 8 hens and 1 rooster is plenty for a half acre. That gives you 4 to 5 dozen eggs per week and a sustainable breeding program so you never have to buy chicks again. Chickens also scratch and fertilize, they turn compost, they eat garden pests. On a system like this, every animal has a job, and chickens are your pest control crew. The next animal is where things get really interesting for anyone who wants milk without the massive commitment. Animal number 4 is Nigerian dwarf goats. Full-size dairy goats need space, heavy fencing, and a lot of feed. Nigerian dwarf goats need a backyard. These little animals stand about 20 inches tall, weigh 60 to 80 pounds. And they produce 1 to 2 quarts of milk per day. Rich, creamy milk with the highest butterfat content of any dairy goat breed, around 6 to 10%. That butterfat means you can make butter, cheese, yogurt, and soap from a single animal. That eats a fraction of what a standard goat eats. Feed cost. about $25 to $30 per month for 2 does. And they're browsers, not grazers. They eat brush, weeds, leaves, bark, things that are already growing on your half-acre for free. They'll clear overgrown areas while feeding themselves. You need at least 2. Goats are herd animals, and they will scream all day if kept alone. Trust me on that one. Housing is minimal. A small 3-sided shelter and good fencing. 4-foot woven wire works for Nigerians since they're small enough not to challenge it constantly. Startup cost runs $300 to $500 for 2 dozen basic shelter. The milk alone replaces $150 to $200 per month in dairy purchases. Real savings hitting your grocery bill every single week. And their manure? Excellent for composting. It goes into the same fertility loop feeding your garden, your rabbits, and your quail. The next animal might surprise you. Almost nobody talks about it, and it's one of the most self-sufficient birds on the planet. Animal number 5 is Muscovy ducks, the forgotten homestead powerhouse. They're quiet, unlike regular ducks that quack non-stop. Muscovies hiss and wag their tails. Your neighbors won't even know you have them. They're excellent foragers, eating slugs, mosquito larvae, ticks, beetles, and grass. On a half-acre, Muscovies can find up to 70% of their own food. And here's what makes them special. They're the only domestic duck breed not descended from mallards. They're a completely different species, more closely related to wild tree ducks. That genetic difference means they're hardier, more disease-resistant, and better at surviving on forage alone. Each hen lays 80 to 120 eggs per year. The eggs are large, rich, and incredible for baking. And the meat? Muscovy meat is lean, red, and often compared to veal or roast beef. It's nothing like the fatty, greasy duck you get at restaurants. A Muscovy hen will hatch and raise her own ducklings without an incubator, without a heat lamp, without any help from you. She does the entire job herself. That means your flock replaces itself automatically for free. Setup is simple. A basic shelter, access to water for drinking. They don't need a pond, and some space to roam. Startup under $100 for a breeding trio. They also integrate perfectly with chickens. They share space without fighting, and they eat the pests chickens miss. The next animal has been used for thousands of years, and it pays dividends way beyond what you'd expect. Animal number 6 is honeybees. Bees don't give you meat, they don't give you eggs, but they might be the single most valuable animal on a half-acre homestead. One healthy hive produces 30 to 60 pounds of honey per year. At local prices, raw honey sells for $10 to $15 per pound. That's up to $900 in value from a 2-foot square box sitting in your yard. But that's not where the real value is. Pollination. A single beehive increases fruit and vegetable yields by 30 to 70%. Your apple trees produce more, your squash sets more fruit, your berry bushes explode. Every food-producing plant on your half-acre benefits from having bees nearby. That yield increase means more food for your family, and more scraps and forage for your animals. More garden output means more supplemental feed for your rabbits, quail, chickens, and ducks. Bees amplify the entire system. Startup cost is around $300 to $400 for one hive, basic protective gear, and a starter colony. Annual maintenance is minimal, maybe $50 for sugar during winter feeding and replacement frames. Beeswax is a bonus product. Candles, salves, lip balm, wood polish, all from a byproduct you'd otherwise throw away. Beekeeping seemed complicated and intimidating at first, but once you understand the seasonal rhythm, it's about 30 minutes a week most of the year. The next animal is old school, ancient actually, and it runs on almost zero effort. This is the animal your great-grandparents raised that modern homesteaders forgot: pigeons. Specifically, utility breeds like kings or mondaines are self-sustaining protein machines. A single breeding pair produces 12 to 16 squabs per year. The birds pair for life, incubate their own eggs, and feed their babies themselves. You barely have to do anything. Squab is a premium meat. Restaurants pay $15 to $25 per bird. But even for home consumption, each breeding pair gives you a steady supply of tender, rich, dark meat, with almost no input. Feed cost is laughably low. Pigeons eat about 2 ounces per bird per day. A 50-pound bag of grain mix costs 15 tlon and lasts months. Allow short free fly periods and they forage on their own, cutting feed costs another 40 to 50%. Housing is a simple loft, a converted corner of a shed, a 6 by 4 foot wooden structure with nest boxes and perches. Total build cost under $150. 6 to 8 breeding pairs fit comfortably. Daily maintenance? Fill grain, check water. That's it. Less time than checking your email. And here's the beautiful thing. Pigeons are quiet, legal almost everywhere, and completely invisible to neighbors. Nobody knows you're raising meat birds on your patio. The next animal closes a critical gap most half-acre homesteads have, and almost nobody thinks of raising them at home. Fresh fish from your backyard. It sounds complicated. It's not. Tilapia are one of the hardiest, most forgiving fish species on the planet. They tolerate a wide range of water conditions. pH 6.5 to 8.5, temperatures 75 to 85 degrees. They grow fast, reaching 1 to 1.5 pounds in 6 to 8 months. A single 200-gallon stock tank produces 50 to 75 pounds of fish per year. That's real protein, 26 grams per serving, low mercury, clean and healthy, because you control exactly what goes in. Startup is affordable. A Rubbermaid stock tank runs $120. Add an aquarium air pump for $25, an airstone for $8, and a basic sponge filter for $30. Stock breeding pairs from a hatchery for $20 to $40 per pair. Total setup $200 to $400. Daily routine is simple. Feed floating pellets twice a day. Check water temperature. Supplement with vegetable scraps, duckweed, or composting worms. All things your homestead already produces. Here's the system connection. Your rabbit manure grows duckweed. That duckweed feeds your tilapia. The fish wastewater fertilizes your garden. Another closed loop, another input eliminated. Keep in mind, tilapia need warm water. In a northern climate, you'll need an indoor setup or a greenhouse tank for winter months. The final animal on this list ties everything together, and it might be the most controversial pick. Most people hear pig on a half acre and think you've lost your mind. But this isn't a 600-pound commercial hog. American guinea hogs are a heritage breed that tops out at 150 to 250 pounds. They're small, docile, and built for exactly this kind of setup. These pigs are true pasture pigs. They graze, root, forage, and eat kitchen scraps, garden waste, windfall fruit, whey from goat milk. Basically everything your homestead produces that would otherwise go to waste. Feed cost on a system like this is dramatically lower than conventional pigs, because 50 to 70% of their diet comes from your land and your kitchen. You're not buying bags of hog feed every week. One breeding pair can produce 2 litters per year, 6 to 10 piglets per litter. That's 12 to 20 piglets annually. Raise a few for your freezer, sell the rest for $75 to $150 each. That income alone covers feed costs for your entire homestead. The meat is exceptional. Rich, well-marbled, old-fashioned pork with flavor that commercial breeds can't touch. Plus, lard. American guinea hogs produce high-quality lard perfect for cooking, baking, and soap making. They also till and clear land. Put them on an overgrown section, and they'll root it clean in weeks. Naturally preparing soil for planting. Housing is basic. A simple A-frame shelter, electric net fencing, and shade. They're hardy, disease-resistant, and easy to handle because of their small size and calm temperament. One pig closing every loop on your homestead, eating the waste, feeding your family, funding the whole operation. When I first started, I did everything wrong. I bought 10 chickens, 2 full-sized goats, and a pair of ducks all in the same month. I had no system, no rotation plan, no idea how much feed I was actually burning through. By month 3, I was spending over $300 a month on feed alone. My garden was struggling because the goats kept escaping and eating everything. The ducks turned their pen into a swamp, and I was exhausted. I almost quit. Then I stripped it all back, sold the full-sized goats, downsized the flock, started with just rabbits and 6 heritage hens on a simple rotation. I added comfrey along the fence line and let the chickens forage through compost piles. Within 4 months, my feed bill dropped to under $80 a month. Egg production actually went up because the birds were healthier on diverse forage. The rabbit manure turned my garden around. I had more vegetables than my family could eat. That's when it clicked. Self-sufficiency isn't about having the most animals. It's about having the right animals working together in a system where each one supports the next. I added quail next, then bees, then Muscovies. One species at a time, one season at a time. Each addition made the whole system stronger, not more complicated. Today, my feed bill for 9 species is less than what I used to spend on chickens alone. That's the power of a closed-loop system. Here are the mistakes that kill most half-acre homesteads before they ever become self-sustaining. Mistake 1 is starting everything at once. You buy 5 species in your first season, and you're overwhelmed by month 2. Different animals need different housing, different feed schedules, different health management. Master one system for 4 to 6 months before adding the next. The person running rabbits successfully for a full season, then adding quail, has more real knowledge than someone juggling 5 species and failing at all of them. Mistake 2 is ignoring the system connections. Animals standing alone on your property are just mouths to feed. The magic happens when rabbit manure feeds your garden, garden scraps feed your quail, bee pollination boosts your yields, and duck foraging controls your pests. If you're not designing connections between species, you're just running a small, expensive zoo. Mistake 3 is choosing animals emotionally. You saw a cute goat on Instagram. Your favorite YouTuber raises Highland cattle. That's not a plan. That's impulse shopping. Every animal must earn its place based on what it contributes to your specific space, climate, and goals. Mistake 4 is underestimating feed costs. If you haven't calculated your monthly feed bill before buying an animal, you're gambling. Write down the real numbers, track every dollar for 3 months, then decide if that animal is earning its keep or draining your resources. Picture this 2 years from now. You walk out your back door and everything is working. Rabbits producing meat monthly, quail laying daily, heritage hens scratching through compost, dwarf goats turning brush into fresh milk, Muscovies hatching their own replacements, bees boosting every plant on your property, pigeons quietly making protein on autopilot, tilapia growing in a tank fed by your own duckweed, and a small heritage pig turning every scrap of waste into next winter's pork. Your feed bill is a fraction of what it used to be. Your grocery trips are shorter. Your freezer is full of food you raised yourself. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you stop collecting animals and start building systems. Half an acre is enough. It always was. Which of these 9 animals are you starting with first? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I'll answer your questions personally. If this video opened your eyes to what's actually possible on a half acre, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. Your half acre is enough. Stop doubting your land. Start building your system, one animal at a time. Rabbit hutches stacked 2 tiers high keep the footprint small enough to fit along nearly any fence line on the property. A resting board placed in each rabbit cage prevents sore hocks, the most common health issue in rabbits kept on wire floors. Quail, reaching laying age in 6 weeks, means a new cage rack started in spring is producing well before summer even arrives. Heritage chicken breeds selected for foraging ability consistently outperform commercial hybrids on total lifetime egg production per bird. Nigerian dwarf goat milk works beautifully for soft cheeses like chèvre, which require no aging period before they're ready to eat. Muscovy ducks patrolling a garden reduce slug and beetle damage enough that most keepers stop needing any pest spray entirely. A beehive placed near fruit trees and garden beds maximizes pollinator contact during the critical spring and summer bloom windows. Pigeon lofts require almost no daily labor beyond checking water and grain, making them ideal for a busy homesteading schedule. Tilapia raised in a backyard tank convert kitchen scraps and duckweed into protein more efficiently than almost any land animal. American guinea hogs, rooting through an overgrown section of land, accomplish in weeks what a tiller would take days to do. Tracking which animal feeds. Which system on a simple hand-drawn map clarifies the entire 9-species loop faster than memory alone? The distance between animal housing and the garden matters enormously. Placing everything within a short walk keeps daily chores effortless. A homestead running all 9 animals for several consecutive years shows compounding soil improvement well beyond the first season. That improving soil means every subsequent garden planting grows faster and produces more than the season before it. None of these 9 animals require specialized skills. They require sequence, patience, and a willingness to start with just one.